Disclaimer: the information provided on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered as financial advice. We are not licensed financial professionals, and any opinions shared are based on personal experiences and research. As always, do your own due diligence and consult with a certified financial advisor or professional before making any investment decisions. All right, welcome back. So this is episode 5 of NOAT. So get your notebook out because we're going to go over don't try to improve your credit score, try to improve your habits. A lot of you are thinking, Nick, are you crazy? You need your credit score in order to, finance a car, finance a house, get a credit card, get approved for loans, all which is true. But a credit score, keep in mind, is a metric of your habits. So if you have good habits, you're bound to have good credit score. If you have good discipline, if you pay your bills on time, if you're never late on a payment, if you don't have collections or you don't owe a bunch of debt, your credit score is going to speak for itself. So that's what we're going to dive into in this episode, is why, yes, credit is very important. Your credit score is very important. But in order to have a good credit score, you need to have good habits. You can't have good habits and then have an excellent credit score. That's not how it works. So that's what we're really going to dive into the episode here today. So to kick off the video, we're going to go over what is a credit score. So a credit score is a number that estimates how likely you are to repay your debt. So this is based on information in your credit report. So credit scores are used by lenders to decide whether to give you a credit and on what terms it will be. So again, your credit score will impact the rate, and your rate will impact your overall monthly payment, and it'll also impact the length that they're going to give you to pay off that loan. So if you go to apply for a loan, they offer longer terms because they know that they're going to get more money in interest. So the goal is, if you are going to take out that longer term loan, thinking that your minimum payment is going to save you, it's only going to save you for the time being. But down the road, when you pay it off, you will pay a whole lot more in interest with the longer term. So if you are going to take the longer term, go to the mindset of taking the longer term and not making the minimum payment. That would be the goal. Like if you're going to take a loan out and you're going to go for that, that 72-month term or above, make sure that you have a game plan to make more than minimum payment, because if you really look at it, you will pay a whole lot more in interest by going to that longer term. So what is a good credit score? So according to Google here, a good credit score ranges from 670 to 739. A very good credit score can be 740 and above, and an excellent credit score, of course, is going to be 800 or higher. So we'll go over a little later in the video exactly, how your credit score is calculated and the weight of each category. And it also gives you some information on how to improve your credit. Again, my best advice, do your research, take your notes, get a professional to help you, a professional financial advisor. They can definitely help you change your habits. Again, once you change your habits, you're going to see your credit score change. So if you're making just a minimum payment each month, you're going to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in interest. So the best bet is, again, if you're going to take out a loan, if you're going to use the credit card, make sure you're paying more than the minimum payment, because it really won't move much because of the interest rate that's on those loans and on the cards. Like you're seeing loans itself now getting interest rates of 18, 20, 30+% on personal loans. So, right now is not really the best time to take a loan out if you can avoid it. But of course, every situation is different. But if you're considering if you want to get a loan or not, again, please seek a professional and they will be able to assist. Use 30% of your available credit or your available credit card balances. This is kind of a myth, because the ultimate goal is to get down to 0%. Like people think you need 30% to show lenders that you can make your credit card payments or you can make your debt payments on time. Like, no, you can still show lenders with 0 to 10%. Like the ultimate goal is to get to 0% and make your statement balances. So if you put $100 in your credit card for the month, pay that $100 off before your next statement comes. That's the goal. It takes a while to get there, of course, but again, it starts with your habits. Once your habits change and you start paying off your credit card debt, that's really going to influence your credit score. And that's why I'm saying don't really worry about your credit score, worry about your habits, because your habits is going to speak for itself on your credit score. So again, try to make more than the minimum payment if you can. And sometimes you have to cut somewhere to get started, and that's okay. Again, you're trying to change that habit. So I would say if your goal is to get 0 to 10%, that's a great goal. Pay off the minimum balance if you can, because you can still show lenders that you're responsible with your credit if it's at 0%, right? Because you can still show lenders that I can put $100 on my credit card and pay that $100 off. So I know if you give me a $100 loan, I would be able to do that. And tip before we continue on the video is to just be mindful of the credit card's term and conditions. You really want to look through what the credit card has to offer, and also the cons of the credit card. So a con would be an annual fee, right? So you want to make sure that you know when that annual fee is going to come. Learn from my mistake. When I was younger, in my early 20s, I had a credit card. I did pay it off. So I was like, okay, I didn't have recurring transfer set up. So I didn't really check the app because I'm like, it's paid off. Come to find out, I totally missed the fact that the card had a $50 annual fee. So when the annual fee hit the credit card, I didn't know about it because I didn't check the app. Because I usually have it on recurring payments, but in this case, I decided to take it off because I had the card paid off. That led to a missed payment because with that missed payment, the annual fee, of course, gets attached to your monthly statement, which you will have to pay off. So I didn't pay that off, and then I got dinged with the missed payment. So learn from my mistakes. Make sure that you're accounting for that annual fee. Make sure that you're being proactive with the annual fee. You're trying to pay it off when that annual fee does hit. It's a fee one time a year. So if you have $50, you got 1 year to save up for $50. Because if you let that annual fee sit there, then guess what? Now that annual fee of $50 is now gaining 18% interest month after month if you just make the minimum payment, which again, you can just pay it off with $50, or you can make 2 minimum payments of $50, but you'll still have to make an additional payment to cover the interest on the credit card. So it's just better to save, even if it's a couple bucks, you can put that couple bucks somewhere else. So it's better just to save that $50. Once it hits the card account, pay it off, and just start new. I end up closing that card just because I don't want to have a card with the annual fee, because it really didn't even offer me the best benefits, and I really didn't use it as much. Again, like, my habits were poor. I honestly took the credit card out to go on vacation. It came literally 2 days before the vacation. I was like, bet. Try not to do that, because you're just going to put yourself behind, and then it's going to be annoying, and it's going to be stressful to get back out of that ditch you essentially put yourself into. So just make sure that you're being just real mindful with the credit cards. The credit cards are a great tool, but they're also a tool that can really set you back for years to come. Again, in one of my videos, I did say, the average credit card balance right now is $6,800 in America, and the way prices are going to keep increasing, I wouldn't be surprised if that shoots up as well. So do the best that you can. Again, seek a financial advisor for some professional help, some assistance there to see what they offer. Do your research and just try to have those better habits, because again, that $1,000 went on my credit report, so I had to end up paying that off. So I did go ahead and I did eventually pay it off, and my credit report shot up because that's $1,000 of credit card debt now I'm not reporting. So keep that in mind. And another tip is, when you go to close accounts, be very mindful on how long you had that account open compared to the rest of your accounts. That is important because age of history goes into your credit report. So if you had one credit card, let's just say it's paid off, but you don't use it, and you've had it for like 8 years, and you started your credit journey about 10 years ago, it doesn't really make sense to close out that card. If you have another card that you don't use, that you maybe got like 2 years ago or a month ago, I would recommend closing that card out, so that it won't have a heavier impact on your credit history, because you need that credit history to show lenders that you are able to pay your payments, or pay any of your debts on time through a period of time. So 100% credit, 100% payment history in 2 years looks completely different than 100% to 98% payment history in 10 years. So keep that in mind if you are planning on shutting down your credit card.
All right, so we're here pushing out some content. I have been lost my voice, had some family over the past week. So, life's just been lifing, but here we are. So we're going over the video. We're talking about, changing your habits, going through with your credit score, and how you can improve that as well based off the habits. So I was looking on Credit Karma, and here are the impacts on your credit score that you need to be mindful of. So, of course, the biggest impacts are going to be your payment history. So, of course, you want that to be 100%. That may not be for everyone, but again, you can still find a way to boost up your percentage by changing your habits. Credit card utilization. So you want that to, again, be at 0% if possible. 30 is just a baseline. Think of it that way. 30% is just a baseline. You really want to get to about that 10 to 0%. Ideally 0, and pay off your monthly statement, so that way you're not accruing that interest. So another big part is, of course, collection. So if you have collection bills, you still want to pay those off. You want to try to pay those off as quick as you can, so that way it's not having a big impact on your credit. So, of course, if you're having collections on your credit, it's going to really have a big impact on your credit score. And then your credit history. So the age of your credit history is important as well. So, of course, the longer that you have good credit for, and the longer you have credit for, the more trusted you are for lenders to give you that money. So keep that in mind. So how I mentioned, if you do have a credit card that you opened 10 years ago that you may not use often, don't close that one. Actually close a card that you opened recently that you may not use, because that's going to have a less impact on your overall history on your credit. And that is a big factor in making decisions when it comes to lending. So keep that in mind as well. And then you have your total accounts and your hard inquiries. So those are really the makeup of your credit score and how it's kind of broken down and weighed. So just keep that in mind as you're going through. You don't want to have too many inquiries, because then people are looking like, what do you need all this money for? What crisis are you in when you need to look this much to borrow against? So keep that in mind as well. Ideally, the goal is to try to avoid having bad debt in general and having appreciative debt. So appreciative debt would be something like real estate or a house. So something that can appreciate over time instead of having a card that depreciates. So the first step is start small and focus on one habit. So this is what they're going to call as micro habits. So essentially what they're saying for the micro habit is you maybe want to change something small. So let's just say you go out to eat, and maybe you say, okay, let me cut that out once a week, right? And you're going to do it one at a time. So once you start getting the rhythm of cutting that out once a week, maybe you then bump it up to, maybe I can cut it out. If I do go out twice a week, I cut out twice a week. Or let's just say for the month, if you're noticed you're going out to eat on average about 8 times a month, say, okay, what can I do to cut that down to maybe 6? All right, and then maybe 5. You're going to have some spike months because of, maybe holidays, celebrations, what the case may be. But then the months that you don't have anything planned, maybe those are a month to really start to bounce back and maybe chill at the house a little bit and cook more at the house. So again, you're going to focus one at a time because you don't want to overstimulate yourself. Again, this is psychology and this is a mind game. So money is a mind game. So they even say when you're looking at your stocks, one thing with your stocks is you're going to see red days, you're going to see fall offs, you're going to see dips. People mentally aren't prepared for that and they pull out and they're losing all the leverage that they gain. Same thing when it comes to using your credit score, right? So it's a mindset. So your mindset is, if I have these better habits, my credit score is automatically going to shoot up and start going up. Another thing is heading to step 2, which is making it obvious and attractive. So again, this is for you to have in your mind. Find a way for you to really dissect what works for you and how it visualizes for you. You guys hear me mention a couple times in the podcast of the small snowball method. Mentally, the snowball method works for me because I see my cards being paid off and I see my balances going down. So I see that as it working for me rather than paying off, whoever has the highest interest. So that's just my personal belief, that I believe the balance is just a better visualization for me. Another thing, make it easy and satisfying. So making it easy, set up recurring payments, right? That's the thing. So you want to set up recurring payments if you can, because if you're setting up recurring payments, it's out of sight, out of mind. It's your money's working for itself. You're making it move for yourself. And that's the most important thing. So you don't have to worry about late payments. You don't have to worry about late fees. You don't have to worry about it dinging your credit score. You don't have to worry about trying to dispute a late payment that was technically caused by you for not actually paying it on time. So if you're adding that if you add an automatic payment, then that automatic payment system will actually reduce the likelihood for you getting dinged on your credit report or you getting dinged through your lender. So again, learn from my mistakes. If I had that annual fee on my credit card, and when I went to take off my auto pay, now it was late and that dinged my credit because it was late. So instead of just me having it on auto pay as normal, I took it off when I should have just kept it on there. So keep that in mind, especially when you have those annual fees, because they are going to collect. So connect to existing routines. So again, stack habits, right? So it's all a mental game. If you work out, let's say you go to the gym, right? Translate your discipline that you have in the gym with your finances. So if you know your form, your routine, your daily schedule is important for you to, make it to the gym, work on your progress. It's the same thing when it comes to building money. So keep that in mind as you're going through this, is you really want to build those habits. If you already go to the gym, you already make your bed in the morning, this is where you are at. This is, that's your field already. That's your field of expertise. You are already disciplined in some way, shape, or form. You just have to take that energy and also put it towards your finances and track your progress. So one thing I do is, how we mentioned in one of the videos, one of the biggest things mentally is putting your progress on paper when you're starting. But that's also the beauty of it, because now you have your starting point. So once you have your starting point and you start tracking your progress and you start seeing the small wins, don't always have to celebrate the bigger wins, right? Celebrate the small wins, because those small wins are going to motivate you to start celebrating those bigger wins. So keep track of your progress. Again, we're going to relate this to the gym. If you're going to the gym and you're taking progression pictures, you can same concept you can do with your finances, and that's really going to help you drive to have a better tomorrow and to have a better life down the road. Create a supportive environment. I can't stress this enough, how a supportive environment and your circle and positive influences help you along this way. So, people always say, I don't have a good support system, and everyone's case by case, everyone's family is a little different. But you can also seek people who may not be family that can give you value and that can actually be someone who genuinely cares about you and want to see you grow and can help you in a way that they can help. So there's people out there, there's ways to do it. Sometimes you do have to put your pride aside, which is fine, because of, pride is the devil, and that can lead you down a really bad route. Don't be prideful in any of this. Just, keep building, keep finding good habits, keep finding a positive influence. Keep going in circles, keep going in spaces where you may want to learn. So if there's a forum on finance, that's something that you want to learn about, maybe something you want to attend. And of course, once you go to these forums, once you start networking, you still want to do your own research, not only on the material that you learn, but also the people that you were trying to network with, because you want to get the background of them as well. You don't want to do business. You don't want to take advice. You don't want to make deals just out of the blue. You need to do your research. You need to do your homework, and you need to actually take a deep dive in what you're about to sign up for. And having a good support system and people who's genuinely care for you and trying to guide you along the way, you can rely on them as well to get you some pointers. So, keep that in mind. Be patient, be persistent. So consistency is key. Building good habits, you got to stay consistent, and you got to be patient with yourself. There's going to be setbacks. Life is going to give you setbacks no matter what. Like, you're not walking through life without setbacks. Don't let that setback derail you from what you're trying to hit and what you're trying to envision. If you're working hard on this, if you've been, working years, months on the progress that you made, when life hits, it's going to be a down moment, but don't let it try to derail you from what you're trying to accomplish. Because at the end of the day, if something bad does happen, or if life just is not lifing right now, it's only a phase of your life. So don't think it's, something that's going to last forever. It's just in the moment. So if you keep the mindset and keep grinding, you're going to get out of any rut that you're in, and you're going to get out of any sticky situation that you may be in. But you just have to be determined. You have to be locked in. You got to be focused in your ultimate goal. Set reminders as well. So one thing is, if you have, I'm big on auto pay, because then I don't have to really set a reminder. So for me, set your auto pay up. That's going to really help you avoid having those late fees and really avoid you getting your credit impacted. But you can use reminders for habits. Even when you're at work, we have reminders all the time. So, if you want to build out your schedule like you do similar to your job to keep you afloat with what you need to do, then that's something that you can pursue as well. And last thing is going to be, hold yourself accountable and find an accountability partner. So if you hear in my one episode, I have accountability partner, which is one of my brothers, which again, we talk about finances. We link up a couple times a week. We hold each other accountable, and we just go over what we've seen overall, whether if it's the stock, whether it's the news, whether it's, what we've been going through. We hold each other accountable and say, man, I don't really know if that purchase right now is what you exactly need. Maybe if you do X, Y, and Z, that can lead you closer to that purchase without having to use your credit card or take out a loan. And hold yourself accountable. Again, no one's coming to save you. So you got to hold yourself accountable. If you know that you messed up, say, I messed up, lost dollars, trying to learn lessons, learn from it, grow from it, and just go from there. You're going to mess up. That's life. Again, none of this is perfect. No one is perfect when it comes to finances, but you got to hold yourself accountable, because if you hold yourself accountable, it's easier for you to learn during this process. And it's easier for you to take that lesson into your next business adventure or your next finance adventure. Limit distractions. So you want to try to limit as many distractions as you can. And that's like any negative noise, even with social media now, like there's a lot going on and there's a lot of negativity going on. And I don't really even try to entertain it anymore, just because it doesn't benefit me in any way, shape, or form. So, you want to try to limit your distractions. You want to try to limit the toxicity around you, because at the end of the day, you need that positive environment, and you need people who's going to drive you for you to have a better lifestyle in the future. This is not something that you can do by yourself. You're not making this journey by yourself. But you really do need to understand that you also need to limit distractions, and you need to have that discipline to stay on track with what you're trying to do. So maybe for me, instead of watching mindlessly scrolling through TikTok, I'm, looking at articles, I'm looking at, educational reels and stuff like that. So I can learn and I can help push out content. So that's where I get a lot of my content from, is me scrolling, me doing my research and saying, okay, I do like that topic. Let me do my research and let me go ahead and, talk on this topic. Same thing applies. And I have a notebook, we all have notes on our phone. And in my notes, if I hear something, I like it, I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna do my research. I'm actually gonna take notes of what I found, so I can always refer to those if I need to go back to them. So that's the habits that I got into. That with me limiting distractions, I go on D&D. So you'll see me on D&D sometimes throughout the day. I do that because, if I'm locked in at work, if I'm locked in recording, if I'm locked in reading my books, that's my main focus, and that's what I'm trying to lock into. If I have my notifications on, as soon as I see my phone highlight up, I'm going to want to pick up my phone. So if I put it on D&D and turn my phone around, I won't have the urge to pick up my phone. So that's one thing that you want to keep in mind. And when you're going through this process, is you're going to have to limit distractions, because distractions is only going to derail you. So again, I just really wanted to push this out just to let you guys know that you don't really have to focus on your credit score. You have to focus on your habits and how that's going to improve your credit score automatically. So if you're doing the right things, if you're adjusting, if you're starting new, if you are reallocating your funds, if you're resetting your mindset, if you're strong-willed, you already went through the process of setting up your budget, you've seen the bigger balances, you've seen the late payments, you've seen the past two bills, you got a professional, and you got started. That's the most important thing, because right there alone is you changing a habit that you did not have before. And again, you may not see the instant gratification, but none of this is instant. This does not get rich overnight. That does genuinely do not happen. That's not the rule of thumb. You don't get rich overnight. You don't change your financial situation overnight. You have to stay consistent in those habits for you to reach the goal that you may have in mind. So maybe your first goal is to get out in debt, and then your second goal is to put money into a savings account. Your third goal is maybe you're going to start investing. So those are great massive goals. So those are the top goals that you can have, right? Now make micro goals under them so you can create yourself like a little checklist. And then as you're checking off your list, not only are you seeing what you're doing through that checklist, you're also seeing it in your balances as well. And you're also seeing it in the cards that you paid off as well. You're also seeing it in your credit score as it goes up as well. That is the point of the video, is don't really focus on your credit score, focus on your habits, because your habits will speak for itself. Numbers do not lie.